everyone, this is Castle of Castle Does, and this time I have something really different. Like, completely different from all of my other episodes. So, over the last 2 weeks, I've been practicing and learning my ways around the blueprint system, and it's been a really interesting experience because I feel almost like there's no limitations. Now, I've tried to make a full game in Kismet on Unreal 3 before, and it was pretty effective, but it wasn't good enough to really do everything. Whereas the blueprint system seems to be completely unhinged. So I decided, just as a small thing, just kind of do my own little project. I used a first-person shooter template because I like first-person shooters. I like arena shooters and stuff like that. So I started making progress and setting up my own damage formula and like firing the main hand weapon, offhand, and then started further planning things out. And I set up like all of these different functions and uh, and variables on the player character. I haven't even renamed them yet. I have a player controller that's now set up with a heads-up display, the player HUD. Here's uh, different things. I even have the crosshair where uh, the crosshair disappears when you aim down sight. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I'm getting all this in, and I picked up some weapon models for the different guns. So I have walking sound set up. Now you're probably thinking, oh, I probably just took this from the first-person shooter demo that already exists, but no, this is all in blueprints, and I set it all up myself. So, okay, so the weapons have a certain level of accuracy. Here's the SMG. Okay, so I have a special movement system where you can do super jumps, but a regular style jumps. Now keep in mind, this is an arena first-person shooter. So as I was progressing and getting more and more done on this, I started to kind of think like, I could probably finish this. Like, here I am just kind of fucking around, and I actually kind of have a game. Here's offhand grenades. There's no animation for them yet, but so here's the sniper rifle. So I went ahead and started thinking about an actual design for like an arena first-person shooter that's kind of set up with all of this, and the infrastructure that I have with the weapons and everything, that's the way everything's hooked up in blueprints right now, all pretty much accommodates an actual design for a full game. And I think it's a little ridiculous because I was just messing around and I decided, hey, why not? Why not just play around with it so that I can learn it, so that I can make a mod for Unreal Tournament 4. And now I'm like sitting here, I got a shotgun, I got SMG, assault rifle, rocket launcher. Hold down shift and you can do super jumps. Whoa, fall off the edge. For some reason, the frame rate goes to hell when I'm recording in Unreal 4. Okay, so here's a little bit more information on the game itself. Now, it does include an aim down sight, but the aim down sight will not affect your movement speed. It's kind of influenced, a little bit inspired by Halo 5's sort of aim down sight, where it's something that just sort of is there to enhance things, and certain weapons might actually be more affected by it than others. So I have that set up. Now you'll notice that there are 6 different weapons. the way I'm treating each of the weapons are slots. So like if you think about Counter-Strike, CS:GO, you will notice that there are 3 weapon slots in that game, and it's knife, pistol, and main hand, right? Well, in this game, it's pistol, submachine gun, shotgun, assault rifle, rocket launcher, or heavy weapon, and sniper or railgun. Now, you notice how I said that there's sniper or railgun. Right now, I have the sniper rifle hooked up. That's the slot number 6. Now, I'm calling it that, but the way it's set up right now is that in the inventory, you'll actually have, like in CS:GO, you can pick what weapons go in these slots. So like there might be 2 or 3 choices of different types of weapons that you can choose that are in slot number 6, which is your ranged slot or sniper slot, which means that there'll be like the choice between a sniper rifle like an AWP or a railgun like Quake. So each of the weapons actually has multiple types of ammo that can be equipped as well, and then the ammo determines the damage, the velocity of the round, and other types of stuff. So like every projectile can be different. Right now I just have the base projectiles for each of the guns. So there's like a rocket launcher, shotgun, sniper rifle, handgun, assault rifle, but there'll be a variety of different ones. So like the base bullet will be, you know, really sort of generic, but then there'll be 2 other options right away, and the option will be one that does lower damage, but affects like an armor-piercing round with a higher velocity, so that there's less of a lag. You don't have to lead your target as much. All of the weapons in this game will be using projectiles, really fast projectiles. So there'll be like an armor-piercing one, and then there will be like a explosive round that does a lot more damage but moves slower, and may even affect your rate of fire and things like that. So like you're probably thinking, well, why wouldn't I just pick the railgun over the sniper rifle, and why would I ever pick anything other than a rocket launcher instead of some silly dinky grenade launcher or something that I would see in a realistic shooter? Well, the way I want to balance all of the different guns and options is that they're all trade-offs. So each and every one of these stats works on a system of equivalent exchange. So like base damage will have a certain value to it, and maybe accuracy isn't as value point. So if I have any points in time where I do a trade-off, if you raise your base damage but reduce your accuracy will go down a lot more. Sort of setting up this system where anything that you exchange for one thing is being exchanged for something of equal value, and really all you're doing is sort of moving the stats around. Now, I still want to do other things that are like interesting trade-offs that are a little bit more, there's a little bit more to them than just moving numbers around, but I really haven't even gotten that far. Like I was just messing around with this, and it just keeps going, and now I have something that's actually kind of far along enough that I can almost call it a game. I want to see how far I can actually take this. I mean, I actually get to see like stuff that's only a little tiny bit further along than this already selling on Steam. So that's just weird that I was able to go this far without so many problems. Like normally I've never had this much power as a dev in the longest time I've ever been working on games. I mean, I have a rudimentary knowledge of programming, but I've never had the ability to just like set up weapons, animation, sound effects, like game rules, and and just get it all working without any hitches for a first-person shooter that this is something that I've wanted to do for years, and I've tried before and failed, and now it's just like almost too easy, and I'm kind of worried that there's going to be some kind of limitation. But so far I haven't seen any indications. So I set up a Trello to further organize it, and you can see here's a list of all of the things that I have already done. Here's what I'm currently working on. I'm probably going to make this Trello public, but I'm a little worried about hitting a limitation and then just basically canceling the project based on that. But this is 2 weeks, and I don't even know what I was like. Most of the time it was just spent messing around, like not knowing how to do everything. I'm still learning the basics, and I was able to get all of this in place. And it seems like I can get all the rest of this at the rate that I'm going in another 2 weeks. I can probably have everything all the way down to like the really difficult stuff, like setting up the menus and bullet penetration, which is something that like I like bullet penetration to a certain extent when I think it's a little stupid when a bullet stops because it hits like a wooden plank or something. So anyway, let me go into the rules of the game itself. Like, how does the design of the game itself actually function? It's an arena shooter, so it's still map control based. However, the way everything works is different. From the ground up, I've decided to do some totally different design philosophies when it comes to this. Okay, you'll notice that there are 2 bars on the bottom of the screen. This is an arena shooter that has no health pickups. That's the first thing. Right away, you're probably, what? That doesn't make any sense. I always have a med kit to step on or something. Or oh, so it must be regenerating health. Nope. No regeneration. When you take damage, that's it. You never get your health back. You never respawn. If you die, you're done. The main multiplayer mode is going to be dueling. So when somebody dies, that's the end of that match, and then you play again. The match makeup, the way the gameplay I want to flow, actually flows more like Street Fighter than it does your average first-person shooter. So I have all of these weapons all set up and everything like that. Now notice that there's a second bar. See how it goes down? That second bar is your armor, and your ammo, and your ability to do super jumps. So like regular movement doesn't drain anything, but if I want to move around super fast, it actually drains my energy. And if I want to do a super jump, it drains it even more. So I can get up here really quickly, but I have to make the decision to give up my armor in order to be able to get a height advantage on my opponent who might be hiding here. So at 100% armor, or 100% energy, we're going to call it, I have a 50% damage reduction. At 0, I have no damage reduction at all. Now there's only going to be 2 different types of pickups in the levels themselves. It's going to be whatever unlocks a specific slot. This is actually kind of complicated because it's so different. Basically, there are numbered slots sitting around the level. When you pick that slot, it disappears and waits about 20 seconds before it respawns. During that time, the other player cannot get that weapon. When it respawns, that slot is locked again. So when you grab a weapon, you are literally locking your opponent out of getting that weapon. So during the match, the very first weapon that you go to run for to pick up is going to be a huge influence on your strategy, and it better be something that works for your loadout. So like, you know that your opponent might be using a certain type of rocket launcher that he's excellent with. Well, you might want to grab his rocket launcher before he does. And you might even make the decision to expend your shield or your energy to get the jump on him. But then he may know that that's what you're going to do anyway. So these slots sit around the level, and this is only for the dueling mode. And I have another idea for the dueling mode as well, which is actually a 2 vs 2 tag team dueling mode. I want to go into more detail about that later after I get more implementation in place, though. But the default mode may actually be a tag team dueling, not where one player tags off and actually has a partner who's running around the map and unlocking weapons, but is sort of like a ghost that can't be affected by anything. And while you're in combat, you actually can't pick anything up. You're dependent on your partner to unlock weapons and move around the map and beat the other guy, who's also a ghost, to the punch and make sure that you guys work together. And then at any point in time, you switch between each other, just like in Street Fighter Super Turbo, or like Marvel vs. Capcom. You actually like swap out between your different characters, and you see their health bars. And in this mode, I want all players' health bars to be visible on the top. Like, literally see people's health going down as you're dealing damage and stuff like that, just like Street Fighter. So it's just a really different game, but it's still utilizing a lot of the same core philosophies of dueling. So anyway, with that said, the other type of pickup that's in the map is basically your energy. So there'll be a big energy, a medium energy, and then shards. Now, there may be, I don't know how it's going to work yet, but there may actually be tiny shards for health that like give you like a little tiny bit. So over the course of a match, if you're really good at picking up those things, it might give you like 20% more health than the other guy if you were better at than him. But health primarily will never go up. But all of the focus is going to be on getting your energy. And if you can starve your enemy of energy, then he not only will he not be able to fire his gun, but he won't have any damage reduction, and the match will be over very quickly. So the idea is to make sure that you boost your energy as much as possible and expend it as efficiently as possible while you're fighting your opponent. Melee attacks do not drain. Now I want to do an offhand melee, so like a knife, like Call of Duty, that just does a lot of damage. So if you do manage to actually catch someone, it may actually hit them for like, 150 damage or something really insane. But well, that's pretty much that. Like, that's the idea on it. It seems pretty doable, I think. I am making progress on it. I've been chipping away at it for a while. Now I also have a desire to do a single player type thing, and basically the single player is monsters like Doom. Like you just start in the map, it's single player or co-op, and you beat the level, but it also still follows that same philosophy of unlocking weapon slots, and also your health never goes back up. If you die, you die, and then that's it. No save games, nothing. Like, you sit down, the map is 15 to 20 minutes long, and if you don't beat it, that's it. You're done. You gotta start over at the beginning. Now, each level is to be designed where you start off with pistols, so there's no going between them. And every time you beat a level, it checks your score, how much health, how quickly you beat it, like the kill percentage of all the monsters in the map, and stuff like that. And then you get points, you get currency, and then currency allows you to buy keys that allow you to play harder levels. And then as you beat the levels, you unlock higher difficulties, and then the higher difficulties give you more currency for beating them. And when you buy these keys, the key is destroyed when you enter the map. So if you don't beat the map, you lose that currency and you lose the key. So you actually have like a real risk to going into a level. And if you play in co-op, there's higher stakes, so like the levels are harder, with co-op. It raises the difficulty, the monsters get tougher, and there might be like one level that's super duper difficult that you beat with your friends. That's like high stakes and stuff like that. I don't know. That's just. I mean, I know this is an awful lot for just some silly idea, but I was figuring, why not get most of it in place, or just see if anybody actually thinks it's a cool idea. It's an arena shooter that sort of hits everything from a completely different angle. It's not a Quake clone. It's not Unreal Tournament or anything like that. It's really its own thing. Like, I've never really seen anybody treat the damage in a first-person shooter like you would in Street Fighter. There could probably be other modes of play as well, like captured flag and things of that nature. But this has just been for 2 weeks of me just messing around like with the engine, and I'm able to actually build my own FPS. It's freaking crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to do an update, and that's why I've been kind of quiet this week. Is because I've been actually working on this, and I wanted to make sure that before I showed this off, I'd have it at least far enough along where you can really kind of see that I'm working on something here that actually could potentially become something. I don't know. I mean, offhand grenade. I think this will be really fun. And that's that. So I just wanted to talk about that and like kind of show it off a little bit. I can't really promise anything because I have no idea if I'm going to hit some kind of a limitation with blueprints or whatever. But for someone who doesn't even know how to program, setting all this stuff up is a pretty interesting experience. I feel a little bit like I can almost do anything I want right now. It's just insane. That's an insane amount of power. I've tried to actually work on projects like this in the past, and I've even had people working with me, and still haven't gotten as far along as I've been able to get on my own. And outside of like environment art and stuff like that, the gameplay logic is always more difficult when you're trying to get a whole bunch of people on board. But when I can just do everything on my own, I can try out these really wacky, crazy, risky ideas that nobody else would ever even. I mean, these things are weird, like no health pickups. I'd probably be laughed at for even suggesting something that's silly. But I'm actually just gonna freaking do it. I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna make this game different from all. It's something that makes the health habits a different kind of value. It's not that, there's no regeneration. It's totally brutal, and also has a single player mode and supports dueling as a primary game mode. That's crazy and different. So I don't know. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more. I'll be doing more updates as I'm going when I do more work. So you can definitely expect to see more episodes where I'm going to be working on maps for this. Well, primarily just one map at first, but on all of that. And one thing I forgot to mention that might be a little bit confusing: the player by default starts off with 1,000 health. So as most first-person shooters, you start off with 100 health. In this, you start off with 1,000 health, so you have a really big health pool that never replenishes. So like, you're in deathmatch and dueling, you're basically chipping away at your opponent and keeping your armor up as much as possible, and just overall doing damage over the course of a single match. So anyway, with that said, I think I gotta stop yammering on about this. Click like and subscribe if you want to see more, and hope you enjoyed the video.